Well, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good day, wherever you are in the world. This is Dr. Jacqueline King, the CEO and founder of um, Black Women Empowered, and I am so excited to be with you tonight. And I have my lovely friend, uh, Kathleen Trigg Jones, and we are going to be talking about this new exciting development, our new upcoming president. I might as well just put it out there, whether they, like it or not, that's what it is. And so we are going to be talking about, why she's the best choice and giving some background on who she is and so on and so forth. First of all, how are you, Kathleen?
Hey, Dr. King, I am, you know what? I woke up today feeling almost like I did back when President Obama was elected. Do you remember that feeling that we all had? It was kind of euphoric. It was just very sentimental. That's how I think I and so many other women, definitely Black women and Black people, are feeling in our country today. Didn't you wake up feeling that way today?
I did. I did. I felt that way yesterday. I felt it was like almost like a sigh of relief because I was a little stressed last week. Were you?
I was, my anxiety last week felt like it was doom and gloom. I just felt like what's happening in the world and everything just seems so bad and we're in trouble here. And so I just found myself feeling really down and really battling with feeling hopeless. And I don't know, that anxiety of feeling down went to like excited anxiety. Like I'm really feeling like there's hope. I feel like we've got a fight on our hands, but I think it's a fight that we can win. And one of the things that I think is so powerful is the show of support that we're seeing right now for Vice President Kamala Harris. The minute that decision came down yesterday where President Joe Biden made the announcement, and I know it was a difficult announcement for the president, but the minute that he made that announcement saying that he would not seek re-election, you could just see that the energy on the internet just went crazy. And I was on a flight at the time, actually, so I felt helpless. I was like, wait, did I just see something pass about the president stepping down? And at first he didn't endorse, he at least didn't announce at the beginning that he was going to endorse Kamala, and you could just see the sleeves being rolled up from Black women, Angela Wright, others that were getting ready to go live and just totally ream, our dear president. And then within minutes, it was announced that he was going to back Kamala Harris. And I think that at that moment, that stress that many of us have been carrying for so long just started turning into a yes, we can, not can, but K-A-M. Yes, we can. And yes, we will. And let's do this, ladies.
Yeah, I felt the same way. But before we get into talking about Kamala, people like to say Joe Biden is this and Joe Biden is that. But the bottom line is nobody has had the experience. No other president has had the experience that Joe Biden had that brought to the presidency. How many years was he a politician? It's like in his 20s. He's 80 now, right?
Yes.
So you could say what you want to say about him, but the experience that he still brings, because he's still the president, is uncomparable to anyone who's ever served.
It's you're absolutely right. It's unbelievable, and I have a history. It's no secret that I am a huge fan and supporter of Joe Biden's. I worked for him when I was much younger. We'll get into that story a little while. I actually wrote an op-ed today about that experience because I could only imagine that might be the same feeling that Kamala Harris must feel right now, where he really changed the trajectory of her life, and he didn't have to do it. He could have easily just sailed into the sunset. His dream since he was a 20-something-year-old senator from Delaware was to one day be president. He did run at a very young age. He was the youngest elected senator and youngest presidential candidate at that time. And if it weren't for, multiple tragedies in his life, losing his wife in a car accident and his young daughter at the time, suffering from not one but two brain aneurysms. He's had a lot of battles that he's had to fight, and those, it's widely believed that that had it not been for those battles, he might have been elected president much sooner in his life, and then going through the whole ordeal also with losing his son during, the last time around. So he's been through a lot, and he certainly did not have to take this moment to give up his wish of continuing his presidency. But I think that it two things happened. I think one, it became clear, his cabinet pulled him aside. Several of the leaders came and had an honest talk with him and said, there is no path to being able to win this election. And he still could have allowed his ego to take center stage, but instead he did what I think was probably the most admirable thing, and that he could do as a man, as a white man, as a humanitarian, as a servant, and that is step aside and pass the torch to this woman who has lived in his shadows for the past 3.5 years, learning from the best there is.
Absolutely. And then, when she was running against him, it got a little messy there. And, it takes big people on both sides to put that aside for the good of the country.
Sure.
And that's what they both did. They put all of that, whatever was said, aside, because and the bottom line is we want the best leading us. And so I have here in front of me Kamala Harris's qualifications to be the president. And
let's talk about that.
You see them on the page. Yes. So her education, she holds a Bachelor's of Arts degree from Howard University and a Juris Doctor from the University of California, Hastings College of Law. And she began her early career at Alameda County District Attorney's Office, where she worked on cases involving child sex assault. Her prosecutorial experience: San Francisco District Attorney, elected in 2003. She served as District Attorney of San Francisco until 2011. Her tenure, she focused on issues such as criminal justice reform, reducing recidivism, and improving public safety. California Attorney General, elected 2010 and re-elected in 2014. She served as Attorney General of California as the state's top law enforcement official. She oversaw the largest state justice department in the United States, and her tenure included work on consumer protection, anti-human trafficking efforts, and police reform. Her legislative experience: she's a U.S. Senator elected in 2016. She represented California in the Senate. She served on several important committees, including the Judiciary Committee, the Homeland Security, the Governmental Affairs Committee, and the Intelligence Committee. Her legislative work has included issues like criminal justice reform, healthcare, and immigration. National leadership: Vice President of the United States, of course, we know that, elected in 2020, became the first woman, first Black American, the first South Asian American to hold the office. As Vice President, she has been involved in addressing critical issues such as the COVID pandemic, economic recovery, and immigration reform. And I could go on, and we'll go back.
The list goes on and on.
It goes on and on.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is she's more than qualified.
Yes.
She
Yes.
is more than qualified.
More than qualified. And I think that is also, what you just read off is, we as women, and especially as Black women, and just as Black people, have to be 10 times, if not 20 times, if not 100 times more qualified to get to where we are. She would not have gotten to where she is if she was not more than qualified to do this job. And again, I go back to what I said a minute ago, which is that she's been groomed, trained. She has learned under one of the best leaders our country has ever seen, Joe Biden, who is a walking historian, with lived experience when it comes to foreign relations and everything else that goes on in our country. So I think that to question her qualifications is deep rooted in racism, sexism. Let's talk about it. You would not ask these same questions of a man. It doesn't get asked of a man. Quite frankly, she has more education than many of the men that are serving in the Senate or in the in Congress. And let's talk about her opponent. And the last thing, we said we weren't going to make this at all about Donald Trump, but the truth is that when you really look at the history of someone who upholds the law versus someone who consistently breaks the law and has been convicted of that, to me, it's just, I don't know how you can call it anything other than sexism and racism, to attack her character, to attack her experience, and to continuously ask questions that you would not ask of another man.
Definitely so. And when you look at the vice president that he picked, I don't even know what the worser of two evils. I mean,
yeah,
it's pretty it's pretty sad.
it's very sad.
You know, it would be sad if we didn't have someone who really could do the job. We just randomly, willy-nilly picked somebody just because. But this woman is qualified, overqualified.
She's
And,
overqualified.
you know, people say, "Oh, I don't know. She's never, she's never been. She doesn't know how to be a president." Well, who knows how to be a president if they've never been a president?
Absolutely.
The person that comes closest to that would be Joe Biden.
Yes, and there's a history of vice presidents becoming president. So we're not, we're not making sense here at this point. They're just looking for anything. But let's talk about some really good news. Let's talk about the fact that Kamala Harris has raised $81 million in her first 24 hours as candidate. That's unprecedented. You know, that as announcing she's a candidate, that is unprecedented. That shows what some people doubted, which was that Kamala Harris did not have the fire under her to be able to even run as the vice president under President Biden, that she did not have what it takes to win. And that's just simply not factual. You know, last night you and I were very blessed, I would say, to join this incredible meeting among Black women in our country. And this meeting was impromptu. It was unfiltered. It was raw. It was unplanned. But I think many women woke up yesterday hearing this news later in the day, hearing this news and felt like, what can I do? You know, what I need to do something. And so Win with Black Women, the online platform that's been mobilizing female voters over the past several years, just said, everybody share this link, everyone join me on Zoom. So many women tried to get on this Zoom that it crashed Zoom. So it started with 1,000 women. And I remember trying to log in and it's saying that it's reached its limit, which was 1,000. So then another link was sent out. Here, join this one. We've reached our limit. That next one, when I tried to log in, said, sorry, the meeting has reached its limit of 3,000 women. So everyone was scrambling, trying to figure out, well, how do we get on this meeting? We all wanted to be a part of something, you know, where we could just talk about all these feelings we were having. And so someone started a Clubhouse, someone else started a YouTube, all these things just to be able to stream what was going on. And eventually Zoom rose to the occasion, and the COO, God bless her, decided to push for this meeting to be opened up. Jacqueline, you know, you're my witness because you were there last night with me. Over 40,000 Black women, and I'm going to say Black, some of them may not have been. There were some Hispanic women, women of color, and maybe many others, but more than 40,000 women, just without any plan at all, jumped on this meeting. And it was emotional. It was beautiful. It was a meeting of the minds. And most of all, it was empowering. And on this call, we committed to do everything we could to get behind our candidate, Kamala Harris. $1.5 million was raised on this call last night. That is the power of what we can do when we come together as one. We can move mountains together, and we can elect presidents if we can just come together.
And we've done it before. It's
Yes.
not like anything that we haven't done, because you know that President Obama and President Biden, they would not have won without the Black women vote.
Absolutely not. No, absolutely
That's
not.
a fact.
That is a fact. Absolutely. You know, part of the reason that we really wanted to do this, for those of you who might be listening tonight, is, you know, I run a media company called iWomanTV. Our goal is to see the world through a female lens and to mobilize female content creators globally to tell stories through our own lens. Dr. King, as you know, owns Black Women Empowered. Dr. King is used to mobilizing women. She, in the past 10 years or more since Black Women Empowered surfaced, she has grown this platform to over 4 million Black women, inspired Black women, empowered Black women who, again, wanted to be part of a movement, part of something where they could make a difference, where they could come together and share stories, share our stories, and discuss ways that we can really change the world together and also support one another. And we've now come together as a platform, iWoman and Black Women Empowered, to make a difference, the biggest possible difference we can in the world. And so what we're going to continue to do is share information. We will continue to bring you everything that we know. The resources that we have will be poured into this. We're not sure how often we're going to do it yet, but we will get through this election together. And we're going to rally all the support that we possibly can between our two platforms and amass all of the information and knowledge that we can so that we are empowered as women. And I'm saying all women, we're not discriminating. We want all women to join this movement. It takes a village to move mountains, and we together, ladies, can move this mountain. And I don't want to dominate this conversation, but I do want to make it very clear, Dr. King, that this is not about politics. This really isn't about whether you're a Democrat or whether you're a Republican, whether you're a Christian or whether you're Catholic or Muslim or whatever. This is really about whether you are a woman. Do you stand with women? Period. Do you stand with women's rights? Do you believe in equality? Do you believe in equity? Do you believe in a woman having the right to choose what they do with what she does with her body? That's really what this is about for us. So we're nonpartisan, but we are standing for the party of women. And together we will continue to support our female candidate through the end, unless there's some really good reason not to.
Well, I also posted a video today of some of her greatest moments. And the one that stuck out the most to me was when she was grilling, the justice, the man. What's his name right now? I can't think of it. The one that just got Supreme Justice, the younger guy. What's his name?
Don't know.
Yes, you do. The young guy, the one they said he had some sexual misbehavior.
The
Supreme Court.
Oh, okay. Well, let's look it up. I don't remember. I don't know.
Yeah, I just posted it today, but she asked him, she said, how many laws are there that are out there that control a man's body?
Oh, yes.
And and he stuttering and everything. He says, she says, well, let me rephrase it. I'm talking men versus women. How many laws out there that control a man's body? And he couldn't come up with, why is it that they want to control our bodies? But nobody's saying that a man can't get a vasectomy or whatever else they get. There's nothing out there, anything that has anything to do with any man's body. If you don't vote for any other reason, you need to vote for that.
Absolutely. And something else, another interesting point that I brought up earlier is, I have 2 sons and I have 2 daughters. I'm as concerned for my sons as I am for my daughters, and for very different reasons under the opposition leadership that could end up taking on over this country if we're not careful. If you don't have daughters, or if you don't believe in women's reproductive rights, stopping, men from telling women what to do, then your sons are also at risk here, because your college age 20-year-old son could graduate from college with 4 or 5 babies if they're not careful, right? If you cut out reproductive health, education, reproductive care, and then you also criminalize this, what do you think is going to happen? This is not just a young girl problem or a female problem. This is a crisis that is facing our world. And I'm not saying that I'm advocating for abortion or any of that. What I'm saying is that we all need to wake up and really have a serious conversation about what we're talking about here. If it takes 2 to tangle, right? So if your son comes comes home and tells you that he has, not one, but 3 girls pregnant in college, how would you feel about that? And that he has to, they all are going through with these pregnancies because they have to. Or worse yet, he's going to jail because he aided a young woman, in having an abortion. Like, what? I mean, this is how serious this conversation is right now. So it's really about us saying, let's put the brakes on things for a minute. Let's really step outside of ourselves and talk about what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. I want to acknowledge Bishop Kevin Whitaker, and that's my sidekick. He's going to be doing some stuff for the men. So we really thank him for coming on. We got a scammer out here. I'm trying to get rid of him.
Let them continue. The thing is that the heat is on right now. We're going to continue to be faced with people who are going to attack us. They're going to continue to berate us. They're going to continue to try to tear us down. They're going to go after every single aspect of Kamala Harris's character. They're going to attack her family. They're going to attack us. I mean, but when you think about it, they're already doing this, right? That look at the venture capital fund, Fearless Fund, that's been attacked over this past year because of the fact that they're giving less than 1% of 1% of funds that may be allocated to a Black female-owned business is coming from that fund, and they've shut it down, and that's made it all the way to the Supreme Court. So we're in a lot of trouble here, but we've got to stand strong. I don't think we can cave into that, and I don't think that we can stop it. But we can continue to educate one another. And that's what this is about. We have to come together and we have to really be honest with one another. Talk about it. Take someone to the polls with you. Know the deadlines. On the bottom of here, one of the most important things that we want to also make sure we're emphasizing is the importance of continuing to open up your wallets and give. If you give $1, if 1 million people give $1, that's $1 million, right? If you can give $2, that's 2 million. If you can give $100. Last night, we raised, again, $1.5 million. There were 40,000 people on that call. So it's powerful when we come together and we say, we're not just going to support, we're not going to talk about it, we're going to be about it.
Yeah, and we definitely need you to share this broadcast. I know it's early and maybe some people are just sitting down to dinner or whatever, but the good news is that it's going to stay on our pages. We're live on 5 Facebook pages. We're live on LinkedIn and YouTube. For something happened with Twitter, I have to rerun it because I don't know what exactly happened, but it is a necessity. And Bishop Whitaker and I were talking about this morning. Some of the men are just as bad coming up. She hasn't done this, but here's the reality: the vice president doesn't get too much recognition for anything that they do because all the eyes are on the president. So right. You don't really know what she's done. She's right. Going to make her case now, and she already started. She went live a little while ago, and I was watching it. And I'm sure that, she's going to change the mind. I mean, she's got people backing her left and right already. But when she starts to talk about the stuff that she has had a hand in making happen, you're going to realize that there really is no other choice.
Right.
There isn't.
Right.
Unless you just want you want to go back to the foolishness that we went through. What I won't even say, I'll say, the former president, and it was foolishness. We went through so much stuff, and the worst pandemic. Look how many people died that didn't have to die. Yeah. I know we all know somebody that died because right. he said drink some bleach. It's a real right. That's right. I mean that's a fact. I'm not saying anything that's not true. And so we have the opportunity to elect a very intelligent, very personable. I know a lot of people didn't like Hillary Clinton because she really had a hard time being personable. And I think a lot of it had to do with her upbringing. I don't think she was a bad person, but she had a hard time relating to your average person because that wasn't her lifestyle. But Kamala is us. Yeah. She's a sister girl.
She does have she has more personality. The thing about Hillary is, we had an opportunity then, and Hillary was also qualified. You're right. She did not resonate with voters. It was something about, whether it was her actual personality or whether it was just the way that she's portrayed in the media. But quite frankly, those same attacks have been launched against Kamala Harris. And so many people have been writing me online saying, is she qualified and what has she done? She hasn't done anything. Well, that's just it's simply not true. It has been historical that vice presidents stay in the background and don't outshine presidents. And you can look back at any of the vice presidents and see that's the case. They just stay in the background and they don't promote them. Now, in this case, the case of this campaign, I do believe the Democratic Party did itself a disservice by not putting Kamala Harris out in the front a little sooner, because we did notice that Joe Biden's age was starting to be come in question, whether or not it was a real thing or not. It was coming in question. And so it would have actually been helpful to see all of the things, the moves that the vice president was making around the country, which was plentiful. She was really on a whole tour that going state to state, talking about reproductive rights and really advocating for that. She was advocating for working class families. She did a HBCU tour, which was something that's never happened before, right? So she was really out there. She's out there in these streets, getting people supporting their initiatives and really advocating. But it was not her time to shine. And had she tried to shine a light, then they would have attacked her for that. So she stayed in the background until now, such a time as this. And now it's time for her to shine her light. And you're going to see her really come out now, because there's not another person I could think of who could go head to head with someone like a Donald Trump, who does not play by any rules, than a former prosecutor, right? Black women in this country have been his worst nightmare. And now he's got to run against one. It's on. I'm ready for the fireworks. I'm ready. It's like we were talking about watch parties today. We're ready to have some watch parties.
Yeah, and Sharon says, and there are Black men that complain because Kamala is married to a white man, which is ridiculous. I mean, she's entitled to marry who she wants to marry. I mean,
Right.
What does that have to do with her qualifications? Right. I don't get that.
And both Donald Trump and JD Vance are married to immigrants. So how about that? But they want to ship immigrants out of our country. So which immigrants get to stay and which ones have to go? It just doesn't make sense. So, yeah, she's been married for a long time. She has a white husband, and that's something that I'm sure they're going to continue to attack her on. But let's be clear: she is an HBCU graduate. She is an AKA. And she's a Black woman all the way down. And she's going to fight not only on behalf of Black people. And she made that very clear today as well, because those questions came up. Is this just for Black people, Black women? And she said, absolutely not. I'm going to fight for everyone. I mean, do we ask white politicians that? Are you
exactly? I was getting ready
white
to say
person?
that exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Are you just for white people? I've never heard anybody say that to any politician. Have you?
No, I have never heard that question, but it's been the reality, though. A lot of the laws, a lot of the systems in our country have notoriously been one-sided. And that's why there's so much fear right now. There's a lot of fear because, God forbid, someone actually even the playing field here, right? All this Black Lives Matter and equality and DEI, they want to do away with all of it. That's just racism. Right? That's fear. Fear is guiding this, fueling this whole campaign on the other side right now. They're fearful. And then there's also, which we can get into, if you want, but the birth rate research, and not just research, but studies that show white births are much lower than white deaths. And that's been a fear. That what that means is there are fewer babies being born than there are people of the white race that are dying. And so eventually we're going to be one race. And that is so painfully fearful for someone who is racist.
And they don't want to lose control. They're so afraid of losing control. Really, it's all about control, really.
It is all about control.
And so we really, there's no time like now
Right.
We're only going to get one chance to get this right. You're either going to get out there and take people to the polls, always be talking about let's support. You see it across the bottom of the screen. You can go there and donate. Uh, you know, I heard that Elon Musk is donating $45 million a month.
Yes.
A month to Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he is. He made it very clear. And let's talk about this, the lack of support for President Biden. You watched the debate when, everyone started calling for the president to step down. What was your thought?
Well, I mean, it was painful to watch it, really. But the bottom line is he got a lot accomplished. You can't take that away. I do think that it was time. I really do. But look how much he got accomplished in his 4 years. It's okay to take a break. He's been doing this forever. Take a break and relax. Enjoy what Kamala is going to finish what you started. Take time off and just, enjoy life. What life you have left, enjoy it with your wife and your family. Because that's stressful. It has to be stressful.
Yeah.
And so, and then I think he's had COVID 2 or 3 times. That doesn't help.
No.
So I'm really glad that he came out and said it's time. It was heartbreaking for anybody who cared about him. It really was.
Yeah, it really was. That debate, it was not a pretty sight, and he fell apart. Bottom line, he did not. It was not the Joe that we've known, who's quick on his feet. My experience with him, as you know my story, but I was very young when I started out my career as a young reporter in Dover, Delaware, and I would sometimes interview at the time he was a senator from Delaware, and I interviewed him several times. And then one day I was actually coming off of an Amtrak train. I was off, and I was dressed down in jeans and a baseball cap, and I was a single mother throughout college, and so I had my daughter with me in a stroller, and I was struggling. Anyone who's been on the Amtrak knows it's difficult to get off that platform, let alone with like a baby stroller. And so I'm trying to get off the train, and this white man comes and swoops up my stroller and carries my daughter off for me, and then hands her back to me on the platform, and I'm helping her, and I look up, and I was like, I know you. And I said, it's, Senator Biden. And I said, I don't know if you remember. He's like, of course I remember you. How are you? And he remembered me interviewing him for the CBS station that I worked for at the time. And before I could even finish my sentence, he said, why don't you come work for me? And I was young, 25, 24 years old, something like that. And had never even considered politics, didn't know anything about politics. And I was very one track on my mind that I wanted to be on TV, and I wanted to be in New York City on the news. But it was flattering, right? And I thought about it. And the very next, he gave me his chief of staff, Bert, gave me his card and said, call me the next day. And I called, or either he called me or I called, I can't remember. And said, no, I think I called, because I said, oh, yes, Senator Biden said, that he wanted to offer you the job of his press assistant, and here's the salary, and, when can you start? And I was like, it went really fast. And then it was federal, so I had to go through all the background checks and all of that, and work out of the federal office in Wilmington, Delaware. And I remember the last thing he said to me was, I said, well, I really always wanted to be a reporter. This is kind of I want to be on TV. And he said, well, give me a year, and if you're not happy, you can go back to that. I'll even, we'll do whatever I can to help. And I said, okay. So I did. I did it for a year. Again, I was very green. I didn't know a whole lot, but the Joe Biden that I know and that I voted for and that I continue to support lifted me up. He didn't care that I was a young single mother from an HBCU, didn't go to Harvard. He didn't care that I had not really been exposed, to much about politics. But what he did care about was that he felt like his press office was lacking diversity. He would like to have representation in there. And he offered me a job on the spot and asked me, to play a role there. I will never forget that. And I did stay about a year, and then I really wanted to get back on television. And true to his word, they supported me. They threw me a really nice going away party when I left, and I never really looked back until it was time for the elections. Of course, I made it to New York, became a news anchor for many years, and I have always taken that with me because I've never met a more eloquent, incredible, on his feet speaker with so much passion and just a lesson behind everything he says. He's a teacher and he's a leader and he's very empathetic. I've never met a person like that who was also as esteemed as he was, that would take everyone he met under their wing. That's what he did with that's what he did with me. That's what he did with Kamala Harris. And that is the Joe Biden that we're now seeing, who would actually pass the torch to this woman because he knows this is her opportunity. This is her moment. And he holds the key to allowing her the opportunity to shine. It's almost like, okay, in the Lion King, all right, it's your turn now. I've given you everything. Now it's up to you, and I'm giving you my support, but it's up to you now. And I'm going to take a back seat here, but I'll always be here for you to lean on me. That is incredible. And I think that we should be supporting all the way through. That's America.
Yeah. And Deborah says that America has corrupted the minds of the young people, thinking that you get a certain age and that you start aging and you can't afford to. She says you get old and they basically want to throw you away, and you can't afford to throw away our elders. Mm-hmm. Here's my take on that. Everybody ages differently. And the thing with that is, I believe that, President Biden was actually starting a trip when he was going up to. This wasn't the one thing. There were multiple things.
Multiple.
Called Kamala Trump, and those are things that are going to be concerning. I don't care what age you are. That's going to be concerning to someone that's getting ready to put you in office again, because if you're doing that now, in 4 years, what will you be? Or will you even be there in 4 years? And then Kamala would be the president by default anyway.
Right.
I think that it was I will always say it was a wise decision for him to step down. And, the other thing that I really like about President Biden, when him and Kamala were debating, man, she came at him hard. She really did. She was, and that shows you that she's no pushover. But to put that aside and say, I know you came at me hard, but I still think you're the best person for the job. That says a lot.
It says a lot.
President Biden.
It really does. I think so. But Biden and Obama had a moment too.
They did.
Yeah.
Well, they all did. They're going for each.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
That's what they do.
The thing is, you don't have to be nasty with it. The former president, whose name I refuse to call, is just nasty and mean. It says people are stupid and this and that. That is uncalled for and unnecessary. We might not agree. I have a friend who was a staunch Republican. Actually, I just saw her when I was in North Carolina, and we went out to dinner. I love her dearly. But when she started talking about him, I said, look, in order to maintain this friendship, let's talk about something else. Yeah. Because we're not going to agree.
No,
it's been friends for a long time. So you have your opinion, I have mine. Let's have dinner and let's go home.
Politics is better left out of most conversations. It really is.
Especially for close friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the point is, we've got to come together. It is not an option anymore. This is a necessity. If he gets back in, blame yourself if you don't do anything. Don't
I
start
agree.
crying and boo-hooing and all that. Now's the time you have the opportunity to make a difference.
You
And
really do. And
you need to
again,
do it. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and again, it's like, okay, what's the lesser of two evils? If you really are afraid to have a woman in office or a black woman in office, um, what about, let's talk about the alternative, right? And so that's what I think this becomes a question of, what is the lesser of the two evils, if that's your fear. And so, this, let's talk about running mates, though. There's a lot of talk today about who should actually be Kamala Harris's vice president. And there's a lot of potential out there. A lot of different candidates that are being tossed around, some women, what do you think of that, though? What do you think of having two women on the ticket?
Personally, I don't really think it's a great idea.
Right.
I think if we could just get one in, let's start there. Maybe somewhere down the line. That's just my opinion.
I think so.
Um, I don't think it's a good idea. I think she should get a strong person, like you said. I don't. I mean, you made a very valid point. Someone in one of the swing states would be good. She has a lot of choices.
She has a lot of
I
choices.
personally like Newsom. You know that I do.
Yeah.
I do, but she's got choices, and I trust whoever she decides, because she's going to take her time and she's going to vet them, and she's going to make sure, because I think she's very thoughtful and very strategic, and she's going
Right.
to take time and pick the right person. That's what I
Yeah.
believe. Sharon Benjamin said two women would be great, but wouldn't work. I know, I mean,
Yeah.
let's be real. We got the hormone thing going. This is not
Yeah.
this is not anything that anybody doesn't know. You
I think
know, we could
I
we
think that
could
would be tough.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be tough.
What I've heard, though, is that, women together can actually win this race. And so what I think the debate I had with someone this morning was, there's a potential that many white women might not vote for Kamala, but they might vote for Gretchen Whitmer. And so, there was that thought that, what if you put, you know, um, Whitmer and Kamala together? Now you have white women and black women and Hispanic women, Latino, are going to support, both of those candidates, and that's the best way to really combat, the misogynistic views of the other side, because you really have two very strong personalities, on the other side that could be seen as anti-women's everything, right? Anti-women's rights. So that was a thought. I personally, and as the founder of iWomanTV, I think that would be pushing our luck a little bit. I think we're not quite
I
there
think
yet.
so too.
Yeah, I think we're not quite there yet. But I do think that there's some strong candidates. I think Pennsylvania, could be interesting. I do agree I do think that choosing someone from one of the swing states would be good, because, those are the problem areas. But if you can choose a vice president, someone like Mark Kelly from Arizona, if you can win, one of these states where there could be a question mark, then that could be the thing that pushes this over the edge. So I don't know. We'll certainly see that sooner than later. I don't think any of that's going to be decided before the convention. And I think now let's talk about the convention, though. So,
but wait a minute, wait before you do that, I want to say
okay.
what Deborah says. Thank you guys for the comments, and please share the broadcast. If you haven't shared it, share it on your page. Deborah Dogs Elam, I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. She says, I agree. I don't think two women should be on the ticket. For one, we already have a black woman running and another woman who totally would throw out men votes. I think you're probably right. You get two women, yeah, I think we could forget it.
I think we'd really be pushing our luck. I mean, I'd love to see it, but I don't think we're there quite yet. No, I don't.
And Sharon Benjamin says, the reason I say it wouldn't work, more about thoughts and ideas from overall culture, not about women working in the same venue. Well, thank you all for your comments. Keep them coming.
Yeah.
Dr. Mercy is on. She's part of BWE. Thank you so much. And Danny says, I choose Jeff Jackson from North Carolina, military man, young attorney, and knows politics. I have no idea who that is, but thank you for your input. Now you're going to talk about. We're going to talk about.
Well, you know what I was going to say about the Democratic Convention, which is coming up, because I think what has hurt the party, the Democratic Party, is the fact that they have been airing their dirty laundry in public versus handling some of this stuff in a back room and then coming out very strong. You don't show weakness in battle. Period.
Wait a minute. What are you referring to?
I'm going to tell you. I'm referring to the fact that over this past several weeks or months now, the Democrats have been arguing about whether Joe Biden should stay in the race or not, arguing about how Kamala Harris is not qualified, arguing about who's going to take over, rather than handling some of those discussions secretly. They didn't have to talk about all that stuff in public and attack him. George Clooney didn't have to come out and attack the president the way that he did. And quite frankly, I love Obama, but I don't think that Obama should have come out and said anything yet. I think that everyone should have just shown their solidarity and handle those discussions behind closed doors until the president was ready to make a decision, because then we're powerful, right? Now we've shown our weakness in battle. You don't show weakness. And when you're a boxer, you don't show weakness. When you're trying to win a game, you don't show weakness. You never let anyone else know your hand, but yet we've shown our hand this entire time. Now we're leading up to the convention, and the convention, it could be that Kamala the party could just say, we accept this endorsement by President Biden and Kamala Harris is going to be our candidate. But instead, there are still many that are holding out saying, we're not so sure. We still think there should be a process, including Obama and many others. The Clintons came out right away and endorsed her, as did many others. And I think I saw earlier today that she has widespread support among many of the leaders in the party. So it's not that everyone's not supporting her, but several people believe that we should wait until the convention and then there should be an actual democratic process. And I just want to know what you think about that. We've already wasted a lot of time. Are we wasting more time by waiting until the convention to officially make her now go among other potential candidates just to see who they want to run, to get the Democratic nomination, versus just saying, yes, she's our candidate. Right now, she's raised more money than anyone. We see widespread support. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. What do you think about
I think that they're going to end up just going ahead and giving it before the convention. But you're right about airing the dirty laundry and all of that. But it would be so nice. I was thinking about it today. We're always talking about. It would be so nice if Michelle Obama would come out and endorse. I think that would be more powerful than her husband.
Absolutely. Yeah, there were still people over the weekend saying that they wish that Michelle would just run. She's made it very clear that she was not running.
I wouldn't either. The abuse that her husband had to take when she was in office, I would never even consider it. But you know what? Danny says we do need diversity. Coming from a background in diversity, things usually work out when you have opposite thinking. I think that's why President Biden and Kamala did so well together, because I'm sure that he said stuff that he didn't want to to agree with on her, but he listened to her and she listened to him, and they bounce things off of each other. That's what you need. You don't need, like the other man wants, all these yes people. That never works.
No, you're absolutely right. It doesn't. And again, I just think that you don't show your hands, period. You decide some of these things, but all the using the media as a public stage to air all of your dirty laundry, to say all the things you don't like about your own party, it just doesn't make sense to me. I think I personally thought it was very irresponsible. And I think that it's hurt us. I think that it set us. Meanwhile, the other side is just growing stronger and stronger. He went through the assassination attempt. We won't talk about that at all. And then he just started growing by the numbers. Money was pouring in, and then he selects what would be seen as a pretty strong candidate for the Republicans, to run as vice president. Meanwhile, we're still unsure about what we want to do as a party, and I just think that shows weakness, and I think that hurts us.
I think that I really feel strongly that Kamala is going to unify the party. I mean, you can tell in just one day to raise that amount of money that's never been done before. Whether you like her or not, she's very personable. She's very likable. She really is. And I believe that she's going to squash a lot of the stuff that we've had to endure over the. But people were stressed. You have to look at. I mean, we're looking at a loaded gun, really, down the barrel of a loaded gun, and so people are groveling, trying to figure out what do we do. And
Right.
so I think now that people can exhale.
Yeah, well, maybe not yet. I don't know if I would.
Well, you can exhale at the fact that that President Biden stepped out. That's what I mean. I'm not talking about completely exhale, but you can breathe a little better.
Yeah,
knowing that we were losing money. People were pulling money like crazy.
Yeah, it took a lot of courage for him to step down. He certainly could have kept fighting this, and I think it was the right thing to do. And the other thing I really appreciate is all the public accolades that he's getting right now, all the attention, all the thank yous, all the President Biden has an incredible record, especially for working class people. And I think that's the other difference that we're going to see, is that the reason the big money is not supportive of this ticket is because they're really fighting for everyday people. They're making sure there's jobs. They're making sure there's childcare. They're making sure that that student loans are forgiven for people who are in severe debt because of their education, furthering their education. So I'm glad to see him getting those accolades. Hopefully he's sitting back somewhere right now and just shaking his head and taking it all in. But I don't think we can sit back for 1 second. I think that we really need to keep the conversation going. We really need to do everything that we can to educate our sister and our brother on either side of us, and also make sure that you're going online and getting informed. The easiest way to win a battle is to stay armed, right? So you have to be armed with knowledge, armed with the information that you need. Get this Act Blue. If you haven't made a donation, make a donation. Know your rights. Know how much you can donate. Look for the voting registration deadlines in your state, because that's something that's very important too. If you don't register to vote in time, make sure your registration is valid and current so that you can vote. Know what the mail-in ballot deadline is if you're going to vote, via absentee ballot. And students, let's talk directly to our young people, because you actually have the opportunity right now to show up in droves. But the election is always in the first semester of college. So that's something we don't think about. All these 18-year-olds, many of them are going to be going off to college. And if they didn't register to vote, and if they don't have an absentee ballot ticket, then they can't vote unless they come all the way home. So that becomes an issue also, which affects both parties. But we have an opportunity right now to really make sure that everyone is equipped with knowledge. That is our armor. And that's what's going to win this race.
Absolutely. And you see across the screen, you can't, and that'll be there forever. You can go there and donate. Like Kathleen said, $1, $2, $5, $10, it doesn't matter. Make sure that you donate something that you can spare. The other thing that's really important is Black women's health matters. We are the fastest dying women in childbirth. We talk about that all the time. I believe that Kamala is going to give a great attention to that. It's one thing that people are talking about it, but something needs to be done about it.
Yeah. And she already has, she's been very outspoken about the maternal birth rates and the maternal crisis facing our country. For Black women, our maternal death rates are close to a third world country right now, and there's no excuse for that. And there was no discussion about it until recently. And you and I have been doing some initiatives around that, but we've got to talk about it. Again, we have to use our platforms and make sure we're informing women. But yes, Kamala Harris, that is one of her ticket items. It's making sure that we understand why that is, putting the money behind the research and education so that we can try to turn those numbers around. It's grossly off center when it comes to, Black births versus white, Black deaths versus white deaths.
Well, we're coming up on the hour. What do you want to leave them with, Kathleen?
The most powerful thing that we can do is exercise our right to vote. Yes, your vote matters. It may not seem like it does, but it matters, because just the mere fact that you show up means that you're probably telling a coworker or someone else that you're going to vote, or you're talking about it, and that encourages someone else to vote. So while your one vote probably won't, sway this election, this decision, your vote plus your neighbor's vote plus your child's vote plus your best friend's vote that you talk to, your coworker, that can absolutely make a difference. And they've been very clear that there's a very good possibility that this election is going to come down to a few thousand votes. So it absolutely matters. So all I want to say is bask in this moment. This is our time. We're having a moment here. Kamala's having a moment. We have an opportunity to support her and to make history. And if it doesn't go our way, it's okay, as long as we give it every single thing that we have. It's really, really important to do our job, because so many people died and fought for this right. So just get out and vote.
I like Deborah has been very vocal. Deborah, thank you so much. She says, we don't
I like that.
get comfortable. We need to stay in tune to what is actually going on. We also need to have an obligation to help our elders to the poll, or helping them fill out absentee ballots. And then she put, your Black job is to vote. I love that. Thank you so much. Yeah. And you are right. I know in Chicago, Reverend Sampson has the soul slate. They have the souls to the polls. I don't know if they are still I know they tried to shut that down, where they take the people after church. I don't know where we stand with that, but no matter what, you have got to vote, and start posting on your social media. Even if you just have 25 friends, if you post to your 25 friends, and we're going to be posting on our pages every day.
Yeah.
And hey, you can share off of our page. If you don't know what to do, you can share. We actually officially endorsed Kamala for president today. The last I looked, it had over 2,300 likes, and people were sharing it. It's on all of our social media. It's even on our TikTok page, and that's actually doing well. But the main thing is, don't be silent. Talk about it. Tell someone, vote, and donate. Those are the things that we need to do, right, Kathleen?
Yeah, absolutely. And something else I wanted to tell you about, and I think we might get a special guest in a minute. So look and see if you have someone trying to come in, Dr. King, while I tell you this. But there is the same way that we had this discussion last night, where Black women, 40,000 strong, came to support Kamala Harris. Well, tonight, in just a minute, at 8:00 tonight, Black men for Harris are coming together.
I heard that.
See that? Yes. And you can support that. Ladies, share this. And men who might be on this.
Is that going to be on Clubhouse?
Let me see. They're doing it on, let me send it to you. Maybe we can post it in here, because you know what? It's important for us to support our brothers when they do something, and let's help them also get out and spread the word. So let me send this to you, and then maybe you can post it. But I think it's going to be on, there's a link here, and it's a QR code. I think it also might be on Zoom. The website, though, is winwithblackmen.org. So it's also a not-for-profit. I'm just sending it to you now. Win with Black Men, and that's win, WIN, winwithblackmen.org. And then the women's one is Win with Black Women. So make sure you support these organizations because they're doing a tremendous things and really rallying people to get out and vote. And it made TV. It was all over the place today. It was on Bloomberg reported about it because they couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe that this many women could come together on one platform, one single platform together and show support this way. So it was pretty incredible.
Great. I just posted it. And so are we? Oh, we do have a guest. Oh my goodness. Look at you, girl. You're something else.
Let's see who it is. Mr. Hill Harper.
Hey.
Senator Hill Harper.
Yeah, let's get there. Let's see if we can get there. That's right.
Yeah, Senator, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We've been talking about Kamala, but let's do a proper introduction of Hill Harper. You all know him as an actor. He is he's an activist. He's an author, and he is politically charged. And he has
a law degree.
And he's a lawyer. Yes,
I know because I'm a fan. Mr. Harper, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much. It's great to be on. And fill me in on what y'all been saying about Vice President Harris. I can tell you a few good stories myself. So let me.
We've been talking about how qualified she is, what she brings to the table. She is the most qualified of anybody that we have, and just we need the support. I don't know. Hill, if you know that Black Women in Power, we have close to 4 million followers on social media.
It's fantastic.
And so we're trying to just get the word out there that this is, it's not an option. We have to.
Absolutely. And so in 2007, my former Harvard Law School classmate, Barack Obama, was a United States Senator, and he asked me, and he asked a pretty dynamic prosecutor named Kamala Harris to go to Iowa to be surrogates for him to stump around the state because he was about 40 points down in the polls to an establishment candidate in the Democratic primary. And he felt that if he couldn't win the Iowa caucus, there was really no path to victory. So myself, Kamala Harris, we were running around the state of Iowa and working as hard as we could to hopefully deliver a victory that ultimately came, and he won that caucus, and the rest, I think the rest is history after that. And she then asked me to contribute to her book, which I happily did, and I was proud to host the first fundraiser for her when she down in Southern California when she announced she was running for Attorney General of the state of California. And so just actually. Someone had found this video from 15 years ago when I was introducing her at another fundraiser, and I said that she was going to be the future president of the United States. So we just posted that on my Instagram. But I'll tell you, when you talk about qualified, there's no question. She's one of the to be a prosecutor on the local level and then go to being the Attorney General of the most populous state in the country, to then go and become a United States Senator of that same state, to then spend 4 years as a vice president. I don't know if there have been too many other presidential candidates that are more qualified. So there's no question about her qualifications, and this is a special time and a special moment where we as Democrats have to rally. And I will say this, I got a call from one of the data folks, and this sort of, Michigan, the state I'm running for United States Senate here, where I'm standing and I'm sitting right here and talking from, is a battleground state. And they told me that me winning this Michigan primary, which is coming up August 6th, will go a long way to helping the top of the ticket, because in Michigan, since there's straight party voting, we need big turnout from African Americans, from the Arab and Muslim community, from the young people, from environmentalists, from progressives. And the way our candidacy, my candidacy, has been speaking directly to those constituency groups. So I'm pretty excited to hear from folks that we are the best chance for winning the top of the ticket and holding the presidency, as well as keeping the Senate seat blue. So I'm excited about that.
So you know I'm in Indiana, right?
Oh, you're very close. You're
I
very
know. You need to invite me to some of your stuff. I'm like 3 hours.
I would listen. I would love that. That would be an honor. You know, we're running all over the state, and you're particularly close to the western part of the state. So, I would love for you to come. And what we're doing now is just, we're in the final stages. The biggest work now is turnout, and part of that is we're in the midst of raising money to get on radio, because what we found is that a lot of folks in our community don't know that there's a primary, because so many people come up to me, hey, Hill, dog, I'm voting for you in November. And I'm like, listen, dog, if you don't vote for me in August, you ain't voting for me in November, because I won't be on the ballot in November. And so we're having every dollar that comes in now, we're spending on Black radio, ostensibly, to do the voter education, get out the vote work for this August 6th primary.
Hill, let's give those deadlines. When is the primary in Michigan?
Sure. It's the latest primary in the country. So it's August 6th. There's a few other states that have the same August. I think Washington State has it, and I want to say Missouri maybe. But August 6th, Tuesday, August 6th. So in about 18 days. And we have 9 days of early in-person voting that starts July 27th and goes to August 4th. And so this is it, y'all. It's between me and one other candidate. And it started out with 7 candidates in this race. Now it's down to just 2. And so this is why I'm asking everybody for as much support as possible, because at this point, it's all about turning out voters that normally wouldn't vote in a primary, and so the last Democratic primary, African-American turnout was less than 10%. At that level, I can't win. And so I'm asking for folks' help. Like $2 makes a difference, because literally any dollar that comes in now, we put it right back into radio and voter education to let them know about the primary. So this is a huge time.
Before we say another thing, can you please give your website to donate, and Dr. King will put it up. That way people that are in the chat can know how to support you. That
would be wonderful. It's hillharper.com. Just my name, all one word, hillharper.com, www.hillharper.com. There are links in there, and know that it's going to get put to work, and know we're going to, when we win this primary, we are going to charge and help the turnout to help Kamala win in November. So these things are related. That's what I want people to understand. It's not happening in silos. Michigan is a battleground state that's critical to winning the presidency, and it's going to come down to turnout and energy. And our campaign has all the energy in the state. So we can do this.
Yeah. And let me ask you this, because the primary is going to be on the 6th, but you had to register. Is that deadline already passed, or is registration still open for voter?
Registration in Michigan has some of the best and most open voting rights in the country. You can do same-day registration. We don't have a voter registration issue in Michigan. We have a voter turnout issue. So it's like you can show up at the clerk's office, register the same day, and vote the same day. You don't even need, in Michigan, you could have be on probation, be on parole, a felony. You can vote. You can vote if you're in jail awaiting trial. You can vote if you're in jail awaiting trial. You can vote. You can show up to vote even if you don't have an ID. You can fill out an affidavit of residency. Cast a provisional ballot, and then your ID would be checked out. And this is what we talk about. It's like, when I get into the U.S. Senate, I want to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights and Advancement Act to make sure that we have our voting rights restored, because the Voting Rights Act of 1965 has been gutted. But what good are voting rights if we don't use them, everybody? Right. We have to use them. But part of the blame, let's be honest, falls on the Democratic Party, right? Because they don't do GOTV spending for the primaries, because normally the establishment wants to pick their winner and then spend all the money in the general to say, vote for this person, rather than actually getting people engaged in the primary. So we're having to spend a lot of our resources as a campaign just educating people that there is a primary to get them to vote.
Right.
So Hill, what are some of the things that you'll be fighting for?
Sure. Number one on the list is healthcare, universal healthcare, Medicare for all. We got to get that done. It has to include mental health, has to include dental and vision as well. Both my parents were doctors. My mother was one of the first Black female anesthesiologists in the country. She lives with me here in Detroit. She's 86 years old. And we talk about it all the time. When she got into healthcare was nonprofit. We've seen before our eyes a for-profit healthcare system that's not even really a healthcare system. It's really a sick care system. The incentives are all off. If you're the maker of Lipitor, there's no incentive to get you off of lifetime of Lipitor, right? Big Pharma spent $375 million on elections in 2022. They're on pace to spend over $400 million in 2024. And so we have to get the profit motive out of our so-called healthcare system. And we do that by basically creating a universal healthcare system. If you get sick, you deserve to see a doctor. And we have to negotiate lower prescription drug prices from the chokehold that Big Pharma has. If you go just 12 minutes from where I'm sitting now across the Ambassador Bridge to our neighbors to the north, you're paying 13x less for a vial of insulin than you do here. It's outrageous what we're doing. And so women's reproductive rights, women's reproductive freedom, we have to legislate and codify that. Absolutely. It's ridiculous that my mother at 86 years old would have more body autonomy than my 24-year-old staffer on my campaign. We have to pass common sense gun laws. The number one cause of death of children right now is gun violence and guns. My son's 8 years old. I'm afraid to let him go over to people's houses because I don't know how they store their weapons. Things are out of control, and we have to ban what I call weapons of mass murder, semi-automatic, automatic weapons, including high mag and bump stocks. And there's so many things we can do in that space. Also use technology so that only the purchaser has the ability to use that weapon. And we also have to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights and Advancement Act. I mentioned that. We have to pass the PRO Act to undergird our unions. I'm a 32-year union member. Unions and the ability to collectively bargain is a cornerstone to creating strong middle class and making sure that they're covered. The other thing we got to do, and I know there's so many problems. We got a lot to take on. We got to end Citizens United and get dark money out of politics. I'm not taking any corporate PAC money. I'm relying on individual donations, basically exclusively in my race. And so we got to get the special interest influence, the lobbyist influence, as well as the corporate PAC influence and dark money influence out of our politics. We got to end mass incarceration, and we got to get rid of the filibuster. Those are just, that's a big list of things. But as a United States Senator, I have a say into all of those things. The other thing we have to do is we have to stop funding genocide. We cannot fund genocide around the world in places such as Gaza and other places where, innocent lives are being lost. And so these are things that I'm fighting for, and they're very important. And when I say that this election is a matter of life or death, I mean that without hyperbole or exaggeration. People are going to live or die based off what we do.
Literally. What made you decide to run for office?
Because so many people are hurting, and they don't see leadership. They don't see common sense leadership. They don't see leadership that is actually fighting for them. They know that the fix is in, and this is both parties. I'm ready to hold both parties accountable, quite frankly, because the top and the establishment in both parties are culpable, quite honestly. They've been bought. They've been bought by big oil. They've been bought by Department of Defense contractors. They've been bought by APAC. They've been bought by big pharma and private equity. And I'm running to represent people over big donors and over super PACs. And, remember, the first three words of the U.S. Constitution and the first three words of the Michigan Constitution are exactly the same. We the people. It doesn't say we the super PAC. It doesn't say we the political party. It doesn't say we the politician or we the big donor. It says we the people. And people need a champion. People need someone who's going to fight for them. And that's what I'm going to do. Remember, the U.S. Senate's the most powerful body in all of our politics. And this is the first open U.S. Senate seat in Michigan in nearly 3 decades. Mm-hmm. So, and Michigan's never had a Black U.S. Senator either. So there's a lot of opportunity to make history.
And are you familiar with my friend Valerie McCrae? She's running here.
Absolutely.
That's my girl. I've
Absolutely.
interviewed her several times. That's my girl.
That's great. That's great. We need this leadership and we need people stepping up. And this is what's so important. This, Shirley Chisholm said, if you don't have a seat at the table, then bring a folding chair. Why? Because you have to have a seat at the table. So to have all these wonderful candidates running is so important. That's why we have to help them deliver victory.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Valerie is on.
She's on here. Yeah.
Valerie. Wow. Hey, girl. Yeah, we calling you out, girl.
Hi, Valerie.
Yeah.
This
We
is it,
definitely,
everybody.
I definitely am gonna come. I'll get your information and I'll come there. I'm supposed to be retired, but anyway, I'll come there and I'll help you.
Thank you. Thank you. Everything matters. This is about turning out voters. I've been saying during the early voting days, I've been telling people Uber the vote. And they say, what do you mean? I say, listen, we're going to drive into the community, grab some young people on the corner. I'll say, listen, are you going to be 18 by November 5th? They'll be like, yeah. Oh, I say, get in the car. Get in the car. Where are we going? We're going to the county clerk. You're gonna vote, and I'm gonna buy you a hamburger on the way home. This is it.
I like that.
It's like people say, well, how are you gonna convince them? I don't need to convince them. I just need to take them there. Let's just everybody takes 10 people to the polls. We win.
We win. Absolutely. I was just saying that earlier about Kamala. Were you surprised at all to see the chain of events over the past, was it been 36 hours, 24 hours with Biden stepping down and handing the torch to Kamala?
It's, to me, I think that all of this it's been brewing. What I've been surprised by is that when we think about the vice president, it's relatively clear that the vice president is second in command in the country, and it would stand to reason that this would be the passing of the torch. And I was surprised by some people feeling some recalcitrance about that and saying, well, I'm not sure, I don't know what we're going to do. It's like, I know, it's pretty clear what we're going to do, and what we should do. And so I just love how strong her team has been around both raising money as well as having a massive calls and doing all those things to show to be operating from a position of strength. And it sends a really strong, powerful message. It helps to re-energize, I believe, the party. And it also gives a chance to send some new messaging. And what do I mean by that? There's a large Arab and Muslim population here in Michigan. It's an extremely important voting bloc, that we saw led by the uncommitted movement. And I think, clearly they've been let down by the Biden administration. And this creates a new opportunity to show stewardship in that space and recognizing the atrocities that have happened, and her choosing to not go to Netanyahu's speech tomorrow sends the right message. And I'm glad that we're seeing that. And it's very important for the Arab and Muslim community to feel supported in this.
I agree. So, you are some of the things that I personally admire about you. First of all, we all are a fan of you as an actor. And I kind of thought that would just be a shoe. And I'm like, oh, Hill Harper's running, all of Michigan showing out to support him. I know it's not been that easy. But the other thing that I really, really admire, aside from all the rest of your background, is the fact that you open your heart to your little boy, who is your little man, who you adopted. And that just, to me, speaks volumes about the man that you are, and also the servant that you'll be for not just Michigan, for the rest of our country. What's that been like for you to adopt a little boy, and you're going through this race as a single dad?
Yeah. My son Pierce, I would say, is the person that this race has affected the most. And that's why when I launched the campaign, I did a letter to him called Dear Pierce, because I knew, I just knew running a statewide race as a single parent would take me away from him a lot. And I'm glad I got him through the second grade. He just graduated from the second grade. And that's not easy because he does not like to sit down in class. You know what I'm saying? He's got a lot of energy. I think I got a lot of energy, but he's got through the roof. And but all jokes aside, you know, it's been tough. It's been tough because I had gotten into a rhythm where I would say prayers with him every night, get him into bed every night, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to do that every night. I knew, and so, but I'll tell you this: if anybody out there even has the intuition or the inkling to adopt, that's God telling you to do it, and so follow that. It's the greatest, hardest thing that I've ever done. But at the same time, you know, don't let anybody tell you what a quote unquote traditional family looks like. Because to be quite honest, I always thought I was going to get married, I knew I was going to adopt someday, but I thought I was going to get married first, have some bio kids, and then and then adopt some kids. I thought in my mind that was the order, but life took a different turn, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. But if you have it in your heart to open up your home and to somebody, so it's been a blessing. I just want him to be happy, and I want him to just completely, fully realize who he is and what he wants to be. I was just on FaceTime with him just a second ago, and so you know, all of this, he's at camp right now, but all of this is you know, if you have an intuition to adopt, go out and adopt. Let this be a confirmation that you just got sent a sign. How about that?
Well, you know, I was adopted, so yeah. Huh?
That Dr. Valerie says, let's get together and support each other. She says I have her information, which I do, and that's what she said. So I'm relaying the message.
That would be great. That would be wonderful.
We'll have to make sure we connect them. You know, I was going to say, as someone who was adopted and who has a foundation, you know, helping young women aging out of foster care, of everything you've done, that really speaks so much to me, because when you're running for office, you know, really you have to care about all the people. And if you can't walk in the shoes of some of your constituents, then it's difficult to relate to them. And you've got so many different issues, you know, working moms that can't afford childcare, and dads, right? And you know, and so for you to be able to really speak on behalf of them, and education, and one day you're going to have college tuition, and you're going to hope that maybe those loans can be forgiven, right? So there's a lot of issues that come with also just awareness of being a parent.
Well, to your point, and that's why when people ask me, well, Hill, you've never been elected to an office. Exactly. We don't need more career politicians in the U.S. Senate. If I'm elected to the U.S. Senate, I'll be the only active union member in the U.S. Senate. I'd be only one of 2 out of 100 that's the parent of an elementary age child. Which, like you said, between education, child care, and violence against children, etc., we need that representation in that body. I'd be one of only a handful of small business owners in the U.S. Senate. And small businesses are the engine of a community's economy. So we need more diversity of representation. I'm not just talking about race. I'm talking about diversity of lived experience. And so you're absolutely right. And that's why I'd be very proud to win this and sit there to fight for people going through real things, and fight for people that are hurting and who feel the government has not had their best interest in large part. And you know what? They're right. It hasn't. You know, it hasn't, and we can right that ship.
Absolutely.
I actually have friends, pretty prominent friends in Michigan, as well as we have a group of Black Women Empowered Michigan.
Amazing.
On Facebook. So definitely make sure I get help.
Absolutely. We're sending them all to the polls. Have some final words, Hill. What do you want voters to know, not about your election, about Kamala's election, just about where we are with this moment right now?
Sure. So we are truly, I believe, fighting for the soul and direction of the future of our country. And when we have an opportunity to grab a United States Senate seat, you know, I'll be the senator from Michigan, but you got to remember, anything that we fight for and pass in the Senate, it's federal, so it applies to everybody. So anybody who's listening, I'll be your senator too. And that's why getting support nationally, and I'm just gonna be real transparent about this. I don't understand why we haven't gotten, and folks don't understand how important this open seat is, and why folks just, from all over the country are saying, we got to make sure we deliver this, because
Like we did for Warnock. Remember when that race was up, right?
sure. I mean, you think about it, the presidency is important, but the Senate does two of the most important things in our country. Number one, confirms lifetime appointments of federal judges. And we see how much that affects us by these horrible Supreme Court rulings we're seeing. And more importantly than that, even 100 people in this country decide the distribution of $7.2 trillion annually, our annual federal budget. Everybody who's listening's money. Yeah. And don't you think you want to elect someone and people that are going to fight to make sure those resources come back to you and the community? That's what this is about. It's investing to grab a seat because it's already imbalanced. Remember, states like North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, they have fewer people than Metro Detroit, but they all three have 2 senators, okay, and 1 congressperson. So the representation's already imbalanced. So when we have an opportunity to grab an open seat, we got to go get it. We got to go grab it. And that's why I need folks' help, because we can win this thing, but we only have 18 days to do it.
Well, we'll do everything we can to get behind you. I'm going to relieve you because, one, it sounds like your dog needs to use the bathroom. He's a little upset with you. He's a pet lover too, everyone. Trending animal videos do better than any other.
Okay, I'll let you see Spice. This is my son's dog, Spice.
Oh, thanks, Michael.
What kind of dog is that?
Spice is what you would call an Aussie Doodle.
An Aussie. I have a golden doodle.
Okay.
Buddy.
Okay.
Yeah, Buddy and Spike would love each other. But I also am going to give you marching orders because there is a Black Man Forum going on tonight. You probably heard about the Black Women Forum last night. We have 40,000 Black women joining this.
That's
Zoom.
right.
Right. So the equivalent of that is going on right now. It started at 8:00. The website is winwithblackmen.org. winwithblackmen.org. And it's with the Honorable Michael A. Blake, Bakari Sellers, Khalil Thompson, and Quentin James are hosting it. It's Black Men for Harris. And you should absolutely be on there with your AFIA self, right?
That's right.
You need to be on there. Get the Greek love going, the Divine Nine behind you.
Thank you so much, Hill. And I'll be in touch with you, okay?
Okay. All right.
I'll connect you. Yeah. God bless you. Best of luck to you.
God bless everybody. Thanks.
Thanks, Hill.
Well, we've had a very full evening, and thank you for making that happen. To have Hill on there, we got to get him in. Also, just want to remind you across the bottom of the screen, I did type hillharper.com in again, and you see the donate for Kamala. Go donate. The men go over to the men's forum. I guess the women will be on there too. Win with Men, is it winwithmen.com? Win with Men and winwithwomen.org. It's .org. Win with Women, winwithmen.org. And that's also a hashtag. So make sure you continue to support us. Support Black Women Empowered. You can also sign up for the Black Women Empowered directory. You see the website right there. Log on to iWoman.tv and support us with all of our content. I see you, Omega Sci-Fi. Woo-hoo. I'm loving how the Divine Nine came out today. And HBCU presidents, I'm on the board of Delaware State University, and our president, Dr. Tony Allen, also came out today in support of Kamala Harris. The entire HBCU community, all the presidents came together to support Kamala Harris, the entire Divine Nine. We have widespread support here. If we don't win this, it's because we didn't get out and vote, because the support's there, the money's going to be there. We just have to show up and vote. All right. Someone just asked me to put the men, Win with Men. I'm just typing it in. Sure. WIN. I did. Men.org. Yep. Mm-hmm. And likewise, winwithwomen.org. You can go to both of those sites and follow, all the information they'll be putting up on iWoman TV, iWoman.tv.
we're going to constantly be posting. We're going to try to inform you with the day-to-day happenings in the political race. Black Women Empowered, again, will continue to keep you informed. Make sure you share this website, Act Blue. Just remember actblue.com. Kamala Harris, if you put in her name, you'll see many ways to donate to the vice president right now, so that we can elect our first female and first Black female president in
Black and Asian.
and Asian.
And
Yes.
also share this broadcast. We need this to go viral.
Yes.
So share it, and then have the people that you share it with to share it, and let's share it and share. And we'll be back. Hopefully we'll be back next week. So Kathleen, thank you so much. My queen little sister. And we'll talk tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow morning on the elliptical, 7 a.m.
I don't think so. Oh, love you.
Love you. God bless everybody. Bye-bye.